Go further with the American Express Business Gold Card. Earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels when you book through AmexTravel.com. Whether your destination is a business conference or a client meeting, your purchases will help you earn more points for future trips. Experience more on your travels with Amex Business Gold. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the Jumbotron first, before attempting to eat a stack of Supreme nachos in one bite. Now you're just a meme that everyone shares on game day. Checking first is smart, so check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to DBR Bites episode number 95. Yes, this is the recap of the Miami game. You're thinking, why isn't this a full episode? Because we said so. That's why we have to organize these things a little differently this week because of what is potentially coming up in the next week or so. Yes, we are talking about number 700 coming soon. But let's talk about the Miami game first. I am Donald Wine. I'm your host for this episode. I have Jason Evans with me. Jason, can I first of all say hi to the people because I want to get the pleasantries that way. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well, my friend. Although I'm scared to death by something that happened in that game last night.
Yeah, we just want to start right with it. 97-60, the final score of the game. We'll talk about the rest of the game in a second, but what's on everybody's mind is the status of Tyrese Proctor. Tyrese Proctor collides knees with Divine Ukachukwu on a fast break last night, hobbles immediately off the court to the point where TV Teddy Valentine, I don't think the Duke bench saw what had happened because TV Teddy had to go and tell the trainer, hey, one of your guys is hobbling towards the locker room here. And so he is out for the rest of the game. He doesn't come back. They talk about whether or not, after the game, I think John Shire at that point didn't have any idea what was going on. He said he needs to get some imaging and some x-rays. But we're hoping that this knee injury that Tyrese Proctor suffered last night is on the lesser end of things. But Jason, have you heard anything about what could possibly be going on with Tyrese Proctor?
I mean, I got sources that have spoken to sources. I'm not sure how good that is, but I've heard a little bit. First of all, I just want to say this felt like a totally meaningless game that suddenly became unbelievably important because of what happened to Tyrese Proctor. And how awful that this happened in the game where he scored his 1,000th career point.
Yeah. We're going to mention that later, but yeah, I think even John Shire said, like, congrats to him. Probably not how he envisioned getting it or how he imagined it ending, which I'm sure is the case.
Yeah. It looked to me, you said they collided knees. It looked to me like a hyperextension. You could see in the video that his knee bent back in a way that, maybe a little bit isn't supposed to quite bend that way.
I saw the replay. I watched the replay 10 times this morning because I wanted to be sure the knees did hit. It wasn't the traditional like pop, right, where two knees run into each other from opposite ends. They were both going the same way, but their knees did collide. And again, it might have it might have helped with the hyperextension, which is I'm in
Right.
your boat. That's what I thought it was last night. But the catalyst was a hit. It wasn't the biggest of hits. It wasn't like, Mason Gillis falling into Malik Brown earlier this season. It
Right.
wasn't like
Right.
that, a pronounced thing. But it was probably just enough to make that knee go a little bit further than it's supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. And look, the key thing to know here, with the hyperextension especially, is there any structural damage? It didn't look like just the way the knee hyperextended. It didn't look like you're going to get an ACL or PCL kind of tear from it. We have not heard anything official. My source with a source says that the imaging came back pretty clean, which is really, really good news. If there's no structural damage, I've heard from a lot of folks, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. If it's just a simple hyperextension, which, puts the Carolina game in play for him. If there's structural damage, look, I'm not a doctor. Everyone says season probably over if there is structural damage. But again, what I'm hearing is Tyrese is feeling better today, and that it doesn't appear that there is any structural damage. But look, we'll wait for something more definitive from Duke. Again, I'm giving you a source with a source, and that may be a source with a source with a source.
Right.
I don't want to seem like I'm breaking news here or that I have some great knowledge, but at least what I'm hearing is fairly positive, which is good because, frankly, Tyrese never. I was super concerned. Tyrese never returned to the bench. Like lots of time, guys get hurt, but they come
He
back
went
to the
straight
bench.
to the locker room. Yeah. I mean, he
Well,
hobbled into the tunnel. Yeah.
He hobbled in the tunnel, but he stayed in the locker room for the entire second half. And then he was seen using crutches to get on the bus to leave the arena. You tell me that, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is really serious. So I'm glad that I've heard a little tiny hint that maybe it's not too terrible.
I would I think the idea behind that though is they're on the road. Obviously, they don't have the access to the full medical resources that they would were they in Cameron, right? In Cameron, they probably have an imaging room in the locker room, right? They probably have stuff available for them that they can figure out what's going on pretty early, as opposed to being in someone else's gym where they don't have access to that. So that could have been the case. Again, we're kind of grasping at straws to figure out what's going on here. But I agree with you. I think the idea here is if there's no structural damage, that's a much better thing, right? We still are going to lose Tyrese Proctor for at least the next game and probably a couple more. I think the idea is, do you want him ready for the ACC tournament, NCAA tournament? The Carolina game, by that regard, may not be something that's on the radar because, by the grand scheme of things, we're not playing for the UNC game, right? We're playing for
Right.
the ACC tournament, the NCAA tournament. Maybe that's the idea here and give them an extra day's rest. But again, I feel like the main thing we want to say is we hope everything is okay. We hope it's not serious. I mean, Malik Brown was out a few weeks with what was a strain, a knee strain. So if it comes along those lines and we're missing him for a couple of weeks, but he comes back 100%, I think that's the most important there. But it sucks that in the day he gets his 1,000th point, we have to lead by talking about him in this way, about him having an injury. And we'll talk about how the rest of the guys stepped up after that.
Yeah, exactly. And if I can really quick before we get to the headlines, I just wanted to mention, it's worth noting, since the loss to Clemson, since we got rid of the bug that was running through the team, and you can tell these guys look healthier than they did against Clemson. Duke has won their games by, here are the numbers, 21, 36, 18, 43, and 37. Yeah, that's 80 combined points over the last two games. But in the last 5 games, we're running absolutely roughshod over everyone that we're playing. Duke is setting records for victories by 25 plus points in ACC play. The last time Duke was just absolutely wiping out the ACC the way they are this season was the 1999 team. And to be clear, just so folks understand how long ago that was, Zion Williamson wasn't born yet the last time Duke was this good. It is incredible to watch.
It is. And before we get to how good they were last night down in Coral Gables, let's get to the headlines. And we got a bunch of headlines, Jason. We got some before the game, we got some during the game, we got some after the game. I found some that were great, but as I mentioned before, the ones, at least for me, the ones that came before the game was over, I'm a journalist. I roll those out because from my end, Jason, you're a journalist too. If we put in a headline for an article before the event was over, we'd probably be summoned to the principal's office.
All right, so here's my rule. Here's what I've figured out. And by the way, it's worth noting, someone sent a really good limerick that I absolutely would have used, but they sent it to us at halftime. At halftime, Donald. That is bad form. I will not be reading that limerick on the air. The person who sent it, no, I wrote back to him. I really like this one. I'm not reading it. And here's my guideline for this. So Bart Torvik tracks when a game becomes 100% safe, when a lead is 100% safe. We're not talking like the 99.8, 99.9 that you get from Ken Pomeroy, because there's still a chance. It's a long shot, but there's still a chance you can lose a game that you're at 99.9. Torvik says to us, here's the moment where it's 100% safe. No chance you're losing the game at this moment. And he said that we reached 100% safe against Miami at the 9:46 mark of the second half. 9 minutes and 46 seconds left. Man hit a free throw. He made the score 72-40. So with 9:40 left and a 32-point lead, Bart Torvik's computer said 100%. Duke will not lose this game. Any headline sent before the 9:46 mark of the second half is dead to me. Will not happen. And by the way, in case you're wondering, Duke achieved a safe lead against Illinois with 9:52 left. 9:52 when the score was 81-49. Those two games, the past two games, are two of the three earliest safe leads that Duke has had all year. Donald, do you know the third game? There are only three games where Duke has achieved a 100% safe lead with more than 9 minutes left in the game. Do you know the third game?
It was one just recently, because we talked about it, and I forgot which one it was. Was it the Miami game?
No. UNC.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah.
When we played Carolina, when the score reached 74-44, 30-point lead with 9:52 left, that is when it was 100% safe.
100%. And we talked about they went on that 16-2 run. We're like, we don't care. It didn't even bleep from the 100%. Even when they went on that run.
Exactly. Totally meaningless. That is and by the way, like, we beat Wofford, we beat there's some teams that we've beaten just like ridiculously. Still wasn't 100% safe lead against any of those teams until later than 9 minutes left. But UNC, Illinois, Miami, Duke had a safe lead with almost 10 minutes to go in the contest. That's ridiculous.
I will say this, Jason. I love Bart Torvik. I love what he does. You know, we love Ken Pom. I love Evan Maya. I'll go to that from time to time. I will not be using that to determine when people can send in headlines. As you know, you're the analytics guy. I'm the eye test guy. And the eye test tells me that I was in school in 2001 when Gone in 60 Seconds happened. Or I'm sorry, Gone in 54 Seconds happened.
Yeah.
And that lead was apparently safe too, according to those metrics. I am a man of the eye test. The eye test tells me the game is over when triple zeros are on the clock, and that's when I will be reading any. That's my cutoff for any headlines that I will read.
By the way, I wanted to point out something. A friend of mine, Carl Heimel, who is a great Duke fan, really funny guy, he sent me an email, and he pointed out that Duke scored more points than Miami would score in this entire game. We achieved their final score with 14 and a half minutes left in this game.
Yeah.
And he said it's the 17th time this year. 17th time that Duke has had more points than the opponent would score with more than 10 minutes left in the game. So to put that in terms everyone can understand, if we only played 30 minutes and they played 40 minutes, we still win. That's ridiculous.
I love that part.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, we've kind of gone on long enough. Let's get to some of these headlines that were sent in. I want to start with Adam Keene. Adam Keene wrote a great one. Jay comes before you. Jay as in Jay Lucas comes before you as Miami leaks points to Duke. Taking into account everything that happened earlier this week, I thought that was the best headline that we got.
Well, you know what's funny? Adam Keene, I also loved one of his. I loved a different one of his. He said, stormy weather, Devils rain threes on Hurricanes during a beautiful Miami evening. I like that one.
Addie Dahmer channeled my inner alma mater spirit here when she wrote, Duke brings new meaning to U100 in the game of a century. U100, by the way, Jason, I know you know this, but for the fans out there, Miami is celebrating its 100th anniversary in 2025. So last night they debuted. I'm sorry, they didn't debut. I think it was the game before they debuted a U100 logo, kind of similar to what Duke was doing with Duke 100, the centennial that we've been celebrating over the last year. But the fact that we just achieved 97 points and we were, again, a missed basket away from being 100, I think brings new meaning to the U100 that was on their jerseys.
Okay, Brandon Hastings, first time emailer, first time headliner, and he gets on the podcast. Brandon Hastings gave us this one. This is really good. He said Miami's odds to win were slim to none, and Slim just left the building. A great reference from Brandon there to Showtime Slim Isaiah Evans, who showed out in this game.
One of the best ones I saw was the first one that came in after triple zeros on the clock. It's from Matthew Green, and he wrote, "No fables in Coral Gables. Duke shows Miami that Illini was no anomaly in a road beatdown."
All right, so I got just a couple left. First one was this, continuing the Isaiah Evans theme. And this one's better when you see it than you hear it, so bear with me, folks. Michael Slaughter said Isaiah 4:3. And he like the number
the Bible
4
verse.
Yeah, the Bible verse. Isaiah 4:3. Isaiah chapter 4 verse 3. Thou shalt get buckets.
I've read that verse many times. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
I cracked up. I thought that was great. And then the last one I wanted to mention, Lee Maxson. Lee sent us this one. Hurricanes blow.
They do. I was gonna say something about the this is very funny. The ibis is the Miami mascot. Why is the ibis the mascot? Because the ibis is the bird that is the last to leave before a hurricane comes and the first to return after a hurricane is over. Let me tell you, Sebastian was nowhere to be found for the last 10 minutes of this ball game in the arena. I did not see him on the broadcast. People did not see him in the arena, but that was funny. But the last one I have, the last headline that I have is from John Barnhill. And John Barnhill wrote, "A change in latitude, but no change in attitude. Duke schools Miami," given the fact that we were on this long road trip that included a trip to New York and then a trip to Miami and a trip to Virginia as well. Changes in various parts of the latitude, but the beatdown remained the same.
Last thing I want to mention from the listeners was we had several folks who were at the game. Jeffrey Lamb said to us that the crowd was probably like 65-35 Duke fans. Lee Maxson, who gave us the Hurricanes blow headline, said that he has never in his sporting life been in a building with less energy. He said it was totally dead. He said even the Duke fans were kind of quiet, just sort of sitting back and just watching the beatdown happen. He said it was like being at a game where no one really cared about the outcome because it was a foregone conclusion who was going to win this contest.
Jason, you've seen the Simpsons episode where they like, stop, he's already dead. That's probably what it was in the gym last night at the Wasco Center. So thank you to everybody who sent headlines. Again, dbrpodcast@gmail.com. After the game against Florida State on Saturday, you can send us your headlines there.
After the game, or after the game is 100% safe. But for Donald's purposes, be safe, folks, after the game. Because believe me, you do not want to, it has happened before. You don't want to be the jerk who sends us the headline early and then the game changes. That is bad mojo, and we have called those people out.
That's exactly why we set this rule in the first place, because we were 0 for the world whenever somebody sent a headline in prior to the game ended, because it always shifted attention from the game. Okay, let's get to the good part of this game. And Jason, I want to start with the defense. We've led with the defense a lot on these recaps, and with good reason. This last night was no exception. Miami shoots just 39% from two. They shoot, from the floor, 20% from three. Duke had 10 steals, and they forced Miami into 20 turnovers. I thought the defense, especially early on, we kind of took that lead. And you know how, like, in previous games, this beatdown started as a slow burn. We would gradually build up, and all of a sudden you look and we're up 25, we're up 30. This was very quick. Miami hit a couple of shots. Jalil Bethea, to his credit, was kind of trading buckets with Isaiah Evans for a little bit. And then Isaiah Evans said, "We're done trading buckets. I'm going to get my buckets, but you are not going to get yours anymore." And I think everyone kind of clamped down for about 10 minutes. I think we went on like 2 separate runs of over 10 points, and the game was over.
Yeah, so we've talked before about slow starts. Duke starts out on a 15-2 run. That is the definition of not a slow start. And
Nope, I like it.
yeah, if you've been concerned about slow starts in the past, it is a thing of the past. Like lately, Duke has been getting out to quick early leads. So we had the 15-2 run at the very beginning. Then, like the final 5 minutes of the first half, we had a 13-2 run, and then we started the second half with a 16-2 run. If you combine those together, those three runs, Duke outscores Miami 44-6 on those three runs. Other than that, it was a very competitive game.
44-6. Doing that math, that's 38 points, and we won by 37. So yeah.
But the 15-2 run at the start, it just felt like the game was over before the first TV timeout. It was crazy. And you were talking about the defense really quickly. I just want to point out that Miami was like jacking up terrible shots. They're a decent offensive team. They're terrible on defense, but on offense, they're a fairly decent team. They were jacking up some horrible looking threes, mostly covered, mostly deep, just terrible looking shots, but they had to because the Duke defense wasn't giving them anything. There was lots of one-on-one from Miami with everybody else standing around, but they just looked clueless for a way to crack the Duke defense. None of their screens seemed to work. And I wanted to point out, as good as Duke was playing on defense, we did it without fouling. Miami only takes 5 free throws in this game. I mean, come on. They can't hit threes against you. They're struggling to get good looks from 2. We had repeated shot clock violations. They only took 5 free throws. I mean, I'm surprised Miami got to 60. Hey, hat tip to them that they got to 60 because
it was a last minute 3 too. That got them to 60.
Yeah, and they committed 20 turnovers. How do you hold a team to 20% 3-point shooting, only send them to the free throw line 5 times, and have them commit 20 turnovers? My goodness. Duke is just really, really good on that end of the ball. Oh, and we're also really good on offense.
Before we get to the offense and some of the players, I just want to put this out there before we forget. We got a couple emails about this, but I can also hear it, and I think you might have as well on the broadcast. The fan yelling over the announcers towards the back end of the game when Caleb Foster came in.
We may have gotten as many emails about this as we did headlines.
Yeah, it was so funny though, because the guy was, first of all, the guy is whoever that fan was. He's obviously a Duke fan, but he is the biggest Caleb Foster fan in the world.
Oh my God.
And I am cool with that, right? Like very, very cool with that. But the funniest one was he kept, every time Foster did something good, he's like, "Yeah, Foster, yeah, you're the man, Foster, you're the best." Just over the guys talking on TV. When Cameron Sheffield came in and Cameron Sheffield hit his first three,
incredible. This is incredible.
He goes, you can hear it on the broadcast. He goes, "Yeah, guy, I don't know who you are, but yeah." And the announcers just had to stop for a second. Like, did you hear what this man just said? Was very, I don't know who that guy is, but I know he had a great time in the game last night. So hats off to him.
Yeah. I'm guessing, I don't know what time they stopped serving alcohol at the arena, but my man had a few before they shut it off.
Jason, in Miami, alcohol is plentiful and very, very readily accessible. I don't think he needed the arena for that, for what he did last night, but it was great. It was very, very funny.
Yeah. And by the way, I wanted to note, we can all laugh about it, but I mean, come on, Cameron Sheffield's actually a player. I know
it was great. I mean, that's not to diminish him, right? Him getting a 3 is like, when Spencer Hubbard gets a 3, like everybody went nuts.
Right. But I'm telling you, it shouldn't be. I know he hasn't gotten the playing time. This is such a deep Duke team. The Cameron Sheffield hasn't had a chance, but this guy played 3 years at Rice. He was a starter. He played 30 minutes per game his last year at Rice. And it was like a 36% 3-point shooter. Like, this is a guy who can rain threes. Like, this is a very, very good player he's playing on a Duke team that is next level, and so he's not getting to play much at all. He didn't come here. I mean, let's be clear. He didn't come here to play a lot. I think he knew what his role would be primarily as a practice player. And it's also worth noting that he had a foot injury, forced him to sit out a year. I get the impression he's not the player that he was at Rice, but I don't even know who you are, man. Do a little research. Cameron Sheffield's somebody.
Yeah, and it's cool to get him in the game. It's cool. I think that was his first 3 in 2 years because he had to sit out last year with
Yeah,
the foot
yeah.
injury. So again, like we really appreciate when over the last couple games we've gotten to see everybody on the bench really get some love, right? Stanley, from Stanley Borden, Spencer Hubbard, Cameron Sheffield, Neil Begovic, those guys getting the playing time that they deserve is really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons we didn't see Spencer Hubbard was John Shire spreading it around a little bit. Like Spence
Right.
had a big moment against Illinois, so he's like, okay, I'm going to make
Who else?
sure.
Who's next? Yeah,
Yeah,
who wants next, right?
Cam's getting the next one, and I'm still waiting. We're going to get a Stanley Borden moment. It's going to happen.
Spoiler alert, I think it might be Saturday. If we go up in a big lead on Saturday where you have a bunch of tall trees, put in your own tall tree to deal with that. But we'll save that for later on the preview of that game. Jason, I want to start with the players, and damn it, we got to start with Slim. My God. It is fun. Again, I'll repeat, it is so much fun to watch him play. Jeff Lamb was at the game. He and I were kind of going back and forth about some of the stuff that he was doing, but like after like the fourth or fifth three, he was talking so much trash to whoever would listen. I don't because when they zoomed in on him, there was no player near him. He was just talking trash just for the sake of you. Who wants this work? But he's so confident in his shot, and it's so fun to watch when he does that because he's almost taking it to another level. And honestly, Jason, he started the second half right because Tyrese Proctor was out, and
Right.
if this means that we have a starting lineup, right, that includes a Slim, a Showtime Slim, to get him started even earlier. He came into this game like 3 minutes into the game, which is one of the earliest we've seen him play. And now he could be on the verge of starting in place of Tyrese Proctor on Saturday. Like you want this confidence from him. You want him to get hot quick. And the fact that he now feels that every time he takes the ball in his hand and he shoots it, it's going in. And for the most part, it is a great thing for this team because I don't know how you again if you're a team facing Duke, you have to stop Cooper Flag. He got 16 points. You have to stop Con Knipple. Oh yeah, he had 20. You have to stop, man in the middle or a Malik Brown or I'm sorry, a Big Pat right in the middle. You have to figure out how to do all that. And then oh God, here comes this Isaiah Evans kid who's going to drop another 16 on you at a given point. It's so difficult to just sit there and think about the fact that they now have the game plan for this kid. I don't know how they do it because he's so much fun to watch. And when he's on, ain't nobody stopping him. I don't even know if guys on our team can stop him when he's firing the way he has been lately.
Yeah, the announcers talked about the fact that he provides so much spacing for Duke because if you're the opposing team, you've got to be aware of where he is.
Mm-hmm.
Last three games, 17, 17, and 16. He's hitting 62.5% from three over his last three games on high volume. Like dude's firing a lot of 3-pointers and hitting.
Even the heat checks were going in last night. There was that one that missed, but like the first heat check was like from 30. Because if you remember, Jalil Bethia came down, he shot like a 30-footer and he made it. And we're like, okay, I'm just gonna give him that. Slim came down and shot one from 32 and he made it. And he was like, that's when he was like, see,
yeah,
I got this bag too.
And it's worth noting they know each other. They played on the same McDonald's All-American team with each other. So, believe me, when Jalil Bethea hit a three, Slim was like, my turn. And the trash this guy talks, he's talking shiz just left and right. It's such a pleasure to watch. It shouldn't be, but it is. But the biggest thing is the speed of his shot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got guys in this team who can really shoot. But the speed that Isaiah Evans gets that shot up, combined with his overwhelming length, because he is so long, there's a reason it's called Showtime. It is a show, and it is fun as hell to watch.
I love the kid. I want him to keep doing this as many times through the rest of the season as we possibly can. Let's move on to Con Knipple because Con Knipple did lead us in scoring 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals. Once again, Con Knipple does kind of it all, right? In the hustle points, have diving for any loose balls or trying to kind of flail his way out of bounds to save the ball from going out of bounds, things like that. The guy does it all, and I wanted to talk about him because it felt like last night again that Con Knipple was kind of the side story, despite leading everybody in scoring. I think it's incredible again that we see him do the dirty work and then also get the points that just again you look back and you kind of go, man, this guy was everywhere. He hit almost, it felt like he hit almost everything. Didn't feel like he made any mistakes. And his energy was at an all-time level. And it has been the last couple of weeks, which I think is great.
Yeah, 4 of 5 from three. He's the guy who leads Duke in 3-point shooting in a game where we hit 15 out of 25, 60% from three. We talked about in the preview, one of the things I mentioned is that Miami is abysmally bad at defending the three-pointer, one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in the country at defending 3-point shots. Duke hits 60%. I mean, Miami's bad, but that's outrageous. And Khan was the man. And for the second game in a row, 2 games in a row now, Khan has been the Ken Pomeroy MVP for Duke, which means you look at all the stats, you tally up, who's the most efficient, who's the guy who's getting things done for you. It was Khan Knippel. And he got 20 points in just 24 minutes of playing time in that game. Dare I say it, Donald, this team might be clicking pretty nicely at this stage of the season.
I like it. We should do more of it. We got to talk about Cooper Flag. Ho hum, another 10-5-5 game, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Again, was everywhere. Spoiler alert, he had my play of the game. I won't tell you which one of them it was, but I'm sure you could probably figure it out. Again, the man is incredible. And the fact is they were focusing in on him. And that's when he was able to get his teammates involved. And oh yeah, he was able to clean up on the offensive glass. He was able to get buckets on second chance points. He was able to lead transition. And it's just dangerous when all these guys are on in their bag. And sure enough, Cooper Flag once again was in his bag.
Yeah, I mean, look, what do you have to say about it? I think that Cooper deferred a lot in this game, and that he was letting other guys cook because we clearly, obviously, did not need a lot from him in this contest, and he's been able to do that a fair bit lately because we haven't had games where we desperately needed him because we've been, as I said at the very top of the podcast, we've been beating the absolute mollywop out of virtually everyone that we've played since that Clemson game and since he got healthy. So he's everything the advertising says he should be and more. And I'm looking forward to Duke having a competitive, I'm not sure, may not be till the NCAA tournament, maybe the ACC final, something like that. I'm looking forward to Duke having a competitive game and seeing Cooper Flag take over the way we know that he can. Last thing I wanted to mention in the good was Caleb Foster. Third time in 4 games that CFOS has gotten double-digit points. And by the way, he got early minutes in this game. Like in the past games, it's been late. It's been, okay, we're winning by 30, and CFOS is sort of the first of the deep bench guys to come in. In this game, he got first half minutes. Mm-hmm. In fact, I want to say it was like the
I think it was under 7, or I'm sorry,
like right around the 7-minute mark or so. Yeah. Now I want to acknowledge that Duke had a lead, and it looked like we were well on our way to, comfortably winning this game, as everyone sort of projected that we would. But it was still him getting rotation minutes, and I think that is a reward for some of the play that we've seen lately. It's a reward for some of the confidence that we've seen from him lately. That's a big deal because depending on how long Tyrese Proctor is out, yeah, I think you're right. Showtime goes into the starting lineup. You need a backup guard. And I think we're going to see CFOS getting significant rotation minutes starting this weekend.
This is why you stay ready, so you ain't got to get ready. And if you're in a funk, you should do whatever you need to do to get him out of there, because you never know what this team is going to need at any given moment. And leading with that, right? Foster and the rest of the bench, 44 points. I also want to shout out Big Pat because, again, we talk about Big Pat. Oh, he's not playing, and then he's playing again, and then he goes back to the bench for limited minutes, and then he's back in the lineup, in the rotation, I should say. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. He did it all. He was everywhere, and he did it in 18 minutes. So he's again progressively getting more playing time. And yes, I know it's because Malik Brown's out, but you need that confidence from your bench. You need guys who are going to contribute when they have that opportunity, because come tournament time, you never know which number needs to be called at any given moment and for what reason. It doesn't matter the reason. It matters that they're ready. And these guys are getting the confidence. Caleb Foster's great, gaining more confidence day by day. What was it, 2 days ago, 3 days ago? We talked about how we looked, kind of out of it at the end of the bench. And now he's thrust into a position where he could be playing another 15, 20 minutes if we needed him to, because it feels like he's that confident and the rest of his team is behind him. So I think the bench being involved, the starters doing their thing is a it's a great thing to see, but it's also super important. That's why these blowouts aren't just blowouts. There are opportunities for guys to get the confidence that they need for March and beyond.
Yeah, and the and beyond, I think, is the interesting thing when it comes to Big Pat. I I think you're getting a look at how effective he is going to be next year, because I think he's going to play a very big role on next year's team. I think that Cameron Boozer is mostly going to play power forward,
Hmm.
and that Big Pat is going to be the man in the middle, hopefully along with Malik Brown. And they're going to be very, very different players. But Big Pat's offense is special. His touch around the basket, his touch around the rim, you can't teach that kind of thing. He has incredibly soft hands. You know, considering this is a kid who barely played for the past 12 months because of injury, you have to be incredibly impressed with his performance lately. Donald, hey, the last thing I had in the good, this was John Shire's 100th game as a coach,
Hmm.
as a head coach. His record is 79-21, most wins ever by a Duke coach through 100 games. Now,
Most
granted,
win most wins by an ACC coach through 100 games.
that too.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I mean he was handed a legendary program. He was handed a blue blood program. I get it, but the job he is doing is just next level. We continue to advocate for him to win National Coach of the Year. I think that the same way Janai Broom was looking like Player of the Year, and then Cooper Flagg sort of pulled ahead. I get Bruce Pearl was looking like Coach of the Year. I feel like John Shire is catching up and ready to move ahead.
I mean, we're biased. I think we both hope so. But you mentioned, it's easy to say that he was handed a legacy program and told succeed. Look down the road 8 miles, and we've seen several coaches that have had that opportunity to do that and have not done what John Shire has done. So congratulations to him. Keep it moving. 100 wins, or I'm sorry, 100 games down. Plenty more to go, and hopefully a lot of wins to collect with that. Let's take a quick break here. We'll touch on some of the nitpicky things that we need to improve on, and we'll talk about our play of the game after this. We're back. We're discussing the Miami blowout win by the Duke Blue Devils, and we shift to the things we need to improve in this game. Jason, I think the one thing that I was looking at this game that really stood out in the eye test and even in the stats was that first half on the rebounding. Miami had 11 offensive rebounds in the first half. Duke had 11 total rebounds in the first half. And it felt like,
Yeah.
again, it was a lot of scrappy, lots of, those big long misses turned into scrappy rebounds and a lot of second chance points. But you could tell the one area of our game that John Shire was frustrated at visibly during that first half was the fact that we weren't limiting them to one shot and gone. They were getting a lot of opportunities to make baskets. And that's what kind of kept them at least thinking that they had a prayer for the first 5 minutes of the game. But I do think that, we finished the rebounding battle was 30-28 Miami. We rebounded a lot better in the second half. We obviously didn't miss a lot of shots in the second half, so there wasn't a lot of chance for offensive rebounds. But I think the one thing again there is if there was a letdown in any area of this game, it was that rebounding stat and the fact that they were able to get so many on the offensive glass.
Yeah, literally the only thing I had written down for the bad, and I want to caveat, we already discussed Tyrese Proctor.
Yes.
That's the
That's
the
the
real
bad.
bad.
Yeah.
But the only thing I had written down for the bad, other than Tyrese Proctor, was the rebounding battle. They ended up. You said they had 11 offensive rebounds in the first half. They only ended up with 13, but they still
Right.
got offensive rebounds on 38% of their missed shots. It's a pretty big number. And the other thing, minor, but it's related to rebounding. Lynn Kidd had another fairly good game
Mhm.
against Duke, getting 17 points in this contest. We had talked extensively about the fact that because of Miami missing Nigel Pack and Matthew Cleveland, that you knew they were going to be operating through Lynn Kidd. And we haven't mentioned the name Kamen Malawach at all on this podcast yet. And we were saying, he's going to, man's going to make it his mission to shut down Lynn Kidd. Not so much. Now, I'm not saying Lynn Kidd dominated the game by any stretch of the imagination, and it's worth noting that despite him getting 17 points, Lynn Kidd had, wait for it, 3 total rebounds. When you're 6'10", senior, super senior center gets 3 total rebounds, it's not that great. But Kidd did a nice job of finding his spots, and man sort of struggled to get a lot against him and the other bigs for Miami.
Yeah, I think Lynn Kidd did it against Gongba as well. And again, it wasn't in my mind. It's not that big a deal.
I apologize. I don't mean to exclusively
it's
blame
credit.
him.
Yeah, it's more credit to Lynn Kidd, right? Like over 2 games against Duke, he has 37 points. Like, hey man, hats off to you. Your team lost by a combined 82, so I don't know what that did, but it's that's what it is, right? But no, I thought Lane Kidd did well in these 2 games and really frustrated Man and Gongba. Again, you take those lessons, you learn them, and you apply them to the next games going on. Because when you have another big, tall guy, how do you react to him? I think they'll react a little bit better. Let's go to play of the game, Jason. I have a play of the game, but I want to get yours first. See if you have the same one I do.
So I had a play of the game contender that I think is going to be your play of the game, so I'm going to hold off on it.
Okay.
My secondary contender was that little stretch. It's not a play of the game, it's sort of a stretch of the game where Jalil Bethea and Isaiah Evans were trading just outrageous shots, just trading three after three after three. The second one that Isaiah took was so ridiculously quick, and then Bethea missed one, and Isaiah drained one more, as if to say, do not taunt the flamethrower. And then I loved the comment from the play-by-play guy. It was a little later in the game, but he said this about Isaiah. He said, why are they giving this guy any room? They should be guarding this dude the moment he steps out of the hotel. You hear about, get him as soon as he gets in the arena? With Showtime Slim, you got to pick him up when he steps off the bus, when he gets on the bus, when he's getting out of the hotel. That's when you have to guard my man Isaiah. So that was my play of the game.
There's a commercial for that where someone like wakes up and they're just like, and like some dude is just guarding him as they get out of bed, and they're like, really, man, and they're just like making breakfast, and the guy's guarding him. That's what you gotta do. But honestly, it didn't matter because last night he was dreaded in people's faces anyway. So hats off to him. My play of the game came with 3:30 left in the first half. Tyrese Proctor got blocked by Staten McRae, and it turned into a Cooper second chance dunk where Divine Ukachukwu wanted no smoke. He got out of dodge very quickly. And again, it was one of those things where, you know how the play against Illinois was like a routine dunk in the second half that was just kind of like, okay, the game is over at this point. That was when they did that, and you could see Stat McRae was like, look, I just made a really good play, and it still turned into a highlight dunk for Cooper Flag. I don't know what else I can do here, coach. Like, just check me out the game, because if this is what's going to be like, it's going to be a long night for us.
So actually, my play of the game contender involving Cooper was not that play. It's the play that starts. It was with 14 minutes left in the first half when Pat Gongba makes a really nice defense on an entry pass to Lynn Kidd, knocks the ball away. By the way, hat tip to Big Pat for playing some good defense there.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrese Proctor gets it. He throws it ahead to Cooper, and Cooper kind of bobbles it. I was like, are they going to call traveling there? I guess not, But Coop kind of bobbles it, and recovers in the air and made the layup that I was just like, ooh. I was sitting all alone watching this game with my dog, with Cameron, my doggy, and I out loud, usually I'm not someone, I know I'm really vocal on this. I usually don't make noise when I'm watching a ball game by myself because I consider that kind of weird. I couldn't help myself. I went, ooh, on that layup. It was very, very cool.
I definitely talk to myself during these games. There's no one else here with me, so I gotta talk to myself and hype myself up on some of these plays. And of course, Jason,
my wife is in the bedroom. She would think I was very weird if I was talking to myself.
Yes, I don't have a wife, so I don't have that responsibility. But I will say this: I also, like many people out there, when I yell at the screen, the players can hear me no matter where they are. So that's how I think about it as I'm doing my own play-by-play of the game.
Truth, man. They can, and whatever weird jinxie thing I'm doing, that will affect the outcome of the game.
That will affect,
Just because it's me, no. I affect the entire universe with my jinxes.
It's never crazy if it works. And with that, we will leave it on this episode of DBR Bites. We will be back in your feeds very, very soon. Probably less than 24 hours, because the Florida State game beckons on Saturday night. We'll be back to preview all of that. But until then, He is Jason. I am Donald. That sound you hear is the whoosh of Slim hitting another three as the Duke band plays us out and takes us home.